Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who review, episode number 93. Right? Yep. So, we're on our Romana story this time. And one of my personal favorite stories. And I have wanted to talk about this one for some time. This one is a fun story. Now, I did discuss the novelization of the story in my novel reviews, but now we're discussing the actual TV story. Released in 1979, roughly 1 year after the last story I discussed, which was, I think it was Underworld. Yes, this was released from the period of September 29th to October 20th of 1979. Yes, so this story is entirely now. They do have shots in this thing. Now this is quite interesting. We started in like prehistoric times, where we had this alien spaceship that they have as a Jaguaroth, where he presses because he really wants to leave. So he leaves, and the ship explodes. And then we jump ahead years later, when TARDIS is arriving in Paris, and it's inside. And by the way, they don't show it arriving, but the Doctor already in Paris, just walking. And here's the thing. When they're outside, or in the Eiffel Tower, they're on the streets, that's actual Paris. That is not a studio set. That is an actual... They actually shot location. And from what I did a little research on it, they actually... someone suggested it'd be cheaper to film there than actually make an actual film set. I guess that they're like, okay. And here's a fun fact. This will be the last time they were shot outside the UK until Arc Infinity. The 20th anniversary story... 3 years later. Yep. So basically, it's all basically like the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa stuff, like stuff in this story, would actually play a small role in New Who. Mostly, it's Matt Smith's Doctor. I mentioned, cracks in time. That's the thing for 11th Doctor. Interesting, though, the fact that we get stuff from New Who first brought up here in this story. You have the whole thing with Mona Lisa. Yeah, because the whole thing, a lot of this story is basically this Jaguaroth. He really wants to do Mona Lisa, and of course has his scientists build this machine for reasons. And apparently he suffered from lack of sleep and food. So he's fed, and he's allowed to sleep. And I'm like, really? You pay him to do all this work and you don't let him sleep? So, we have this going on, and of course we have this guy called Doug. They have the Dr. Romana at a cafe. Oh, little fun fact. Apparently we have cameos here by the writer of the story, Douglas Adams. Douglas Adams, noteworthy for being the writer of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yep, he wrote that. And one of the other scriptwriters is a Shifty Man. So, they're inside this cafe. We see this guy drawing Romana. And because Romana looked at him, he proceeded to just tear apart the sketch and just throw it on the floor. And it's basically Romana's face covered in a clock. It's like, oh, that was representative time, lady. Yeah. And they, of course, investigate. Of course, they see Mona Lisa. Obviously, they go to the museum. And, of course, there's this other lady there. And then we have this detective named Duggan. That's his name, Duggan. He apparently is British, despite being set here in France. He apparently is a hired detective to figure out what's going on in the art world in Paris. Yep. So then, of course, basically, Doctor has a gun pointed at him because he stole a bracelet. And because there's this Countess. And eventually, of course, Duggan, the Doctor, Romana, all brought to Count's house. He, of course, comments about the chairs. He apparently does not want to damage these chairs at all. It's like, there's Duggan basically want to bash him with these chairs. And Duggan's like, no, don't do that. I love to think how much of a gentleman the Doctor is. Where he's like, just don't damage it, just put it down. You can get some dungeon down. And the guy's like, thank you for cooperative. Yeah. And of course, then they break out of their cell. Of course, there's equipment break out of their cell by going to this wall. Thanks to Romana doing measurements. And there's another room, and there's 6 Mona Lisas. You're like, what? 6 Mona Lisas? Oh yeah, then of course, then the count's knocked out. And then the doctor goes back in time to 1505 Florence. Probably a studio. By the way, the villain of the story is played by Julian Glover, who years later played another famous villain I've seen in a movie called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which makes him one of 2 actors in the story, aside from Tom Baker. Actually, I heard it before. And I believe also he appeared in a oh yeah, I remember now. He appeared also in For Your Eyes Only, which came out about 2 years after this one, where he was the main villain in that story too. I gotta admit, he's a very charming individual. Like he has a very good performance. He is like, him and Tom Baker got great scenes together. This whole story. So then he arrives and like, oh look, he just painted the painting from 1503. And then there's a guard, like no one can see Leonardo da Vinci. Of course, Da Vinci's not in the story. And then here's the Count in the past. Like, wait, how the heck get here? Well, that's because apparently when the ship exploded, it split to him into 12 different time frames. And all he wants to do is to reunite himself and go back home. And apparently he's able to communicate with himself in various time frames on a mental capacity for some reason. Of course, Doug and Romana escape. Of course, they do show, like Mona Lisa, how it's going to be stolen by first disabling our alarms. Then we just remove the glass. And then we use this device to fracture the laser beams. And remove the Mona Lisa, no problem. Thanks to being sort of a... And this has been unusual. I guess these guys apparently have never seen holographic technology before. But my guess is the reason why they do it in this story because it's made by an alien. Oh, and I did read, apparently Julian Glover did not like wearing the mask. He was very, he was very hesitant. He was very reluctant to wear the damn thing. So a lot of the time when you see him wearing the mask, it's a stand-in. So then, of course, basically, like, they get away, and Dr. gets back to the present. And then, of course, Romana and, well, this is a funny bit here where this is so funny. So the doctor goes back to the Count's house, and he tells me, like, but by the way, after Melissa's story, you see him just talking to 2 cops. And you wonder, like, how did it get past them? And the story is never explained. In the novelization, it's because he used his old Unipass, which he still had on him, which, I gotta say, it's not a bad thing to keep on you, Doctor. And he goes back to the Count's house, and he has a very good conversation with the Countess. And he talks about Shakespeare, and look, he just happened to have the original draft of Hamlet. And apparently, the doctor wrote part of it and asked them to change it. And so, I found that to be interesting, the fact he wrote it. And I like the fact, basically, despite that could be a hostage, being brought in basically at gunpoint, he's able to act like a complete gentleman. It's like, can you please tell the Countess I'm here? And of course, the henchman basically is told by the maid, the doctor's here, and he's about to tell the Count, and the Count's like, oh, the doctor's here. Like, don't tell me, the doctor's here. He's like, how'd you know that, sir? Because he suspected. Because Romana basically is also building the device. Like, we had 2-minute interval, of course, to go back, and of course, Doug gets out. By the way, he kills the Countess. Yeah, he kills the Countess by having the bracelet. By the way, I forgot the funny scene here. Where a doctor's like, oh, Doug was following you, Countess, because he wanted to ask you out to dinner. I remember in the book, basically, because this is so funny. I remember in the book, basically, he mentioned, oh, he had feelings for you. Like, oh my gosh, it's so funny. Let's talk to Canada. The fact woman is beautiful. I gotta admit, the Countess, the actress who played at the time, was a very pretty woman. Yep, so you have Duggan, the Doctor, and Romana just run to Paris. And then into the Art Museum, when they pass by John Cleese. I'm like, John Cleese! I'm like, wow! Now, there's a cameo. Apparently, he was doing some show at that point. He just happened to be in the area, so why not? And apparently, Douglas Adams riding to get on the show because John Cleese's daughter is a Doctor Who fan. Saw her not probably be on the show. And it's like, oh, he's talking about his art piece with his lady, and the art piece he's talking about is a TARDIS, which is so funny. And they go through the TARDIS and they go back in time. And like it's like, oh, where are we? Oh, we're in the area that's going to be the Atlantic Ocean. And look, that gas over there, that's going to be the human race. Oh yeah, and he also knocks out the Jaggeroth. He just punches him like, oh, he just flew the most important punch in history by preventing him from blowing up his ship. And he goes back to present, and then of course his henchman thinks he's like, oh, he thinks some intruder, so he throws like, no, it's me, and of course the thing explodes, and then this house blows up, killing everybody there, and like apparently only one survived. By the way, there's this funny bit here where a doctor writes, "This is a fake," like three of them, and of course it's back in the Louvre, and Dr. Mario walk off, leaving Duggan in the Eiffel Tower. And this was a fun story. Oh my god, this story was so fun. And I heard also reason Douglas Adams also wants to write the story here so he can get drunk in Paris. I'm like, that is so interesting. I personally enjoyed this. This was so fun. Like apparently at one point the Countess's wife was going to be played by Julian Glover's wife. And they got sort of in Vegas. And also around here, apparently that the reason why that they casted the actor by Doug is that he looked like Tintin. Yeah. Oh, and also apparently the Doctor and the Tom Baker and Julie Glover did a film called Nicholas Alexandra. Interesting. But so much fascinating stuff to read about the story notes related to City of Death is so fascinating. Oh yeah, this story overall, I mean, it rightfully has earned. Apparently, there was a ranking recently. This was voted the third most popular story of the entirety of classic Doctor Who. Which, excuse me, watch this story. Yeah, and this is actually one of the very few non-return alien stories that does feature a returning alien in Tom Baker's, and I really enjoy. And I give this one a ranking of 10 out of 10. And the next one's going to be weird because Romana wears a weird outfit next one, because next one's going to be called Creature from the Pit. Yep, that was discussed later, along with maybe Bleach and Comic Corner. Okay, so that's pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the dislike button. Well, stay tuned for later for more reviews of Doctor Who and Bleach. And probably Comic Corner, okay? Next video. Bye.